just, you know, picturing you, and not in a weird way, and your husband, like your home life to, you know, people who I find so amazingly funny. Like in your free time, do you like to be like somber?
We wake up. This is a typical day.
Yeah.
Typical day. Wake up. We watch like Frontline, or like a really sad Oprah about like.
Yeah.
That's how we start. Then we take dual solid gold jacuzzi soaks.
Nice.
Every morning. He's got his, I've got mine. Then we think a little bit about Darfur and how to solve that.
Yeah.
Right?
Good.
Then we get into private jets.
Yeah.
And we just dump fuel along the ocean. That's it.
Good.
That's all we do. Love you.
Yeah.
That's all we do.
Yeah. That seems to sum it up. Really. That's good to know. I was picturing that. Yeah.
Well, Marianne's the only bar. That's where I turned 21. Oh my God! Me too. Me too.
Oh my God!
Oh my God!
What a coincidence.
Let me ask you this: did you do 11 shots in an hour and then do what they call a cement mixer and throw up on the track? That's what I did. Good for you.
Wow, good time.
Good for you.
I don't think, you know...
Oh, a cement mixer? Oh, I believe it is... It's disgusting! Don't do it.
I bet you'd recognize it, because I don't think they've cleaned it since we were...
Marianne's, which is proudly the home of, like, roaches in their beer lines.
I think.
It's disgusting. Oh, but honestly, it wasn't all about drinking.
Just the other stuff couldn't come to you as quickly.
It was all Fleabag stuff. It was always just hanging out with Fleabag and then pooling our money and like buying a steak at Ground Round or something. And just going all full tilt. I remember you guys. God, I might be dating myself here, but is there still like kind of a fancy restaurant on campus that you can use your meal card for?
That was the Golden Lantern.
The Golden Lantern. There used to be this ghetto place called the Golden Lantern. That was fancy, which is like when you were deprived of fancy things, and at the end you would have like so many points, and you just like go to the Golden Lantern and try to eat like a human.
Yeah, and because I was a waiter at the Golden Lantern, this had to be one of the worst ideas in the world. Where it'd be like, get a job as a waiter at the Golden Lantern. Yeah, because students who are paying with what at that point looked like a big, wide, dorky book of food stamps, are clearly going to pull out some cash to tip their waiter.
Definitely.
Right? That's going to be a great place to work.
They're like, take that home.
Yeah.
Buy yourself something nice.
Yeah, seriously. Get something for you. Have the car brought around in front of Walsh. Right?
Yeah.
They don't even know. Yeah, when we were freshmen, there was this big book. It was about this big, and there would be stamps for like $1, $2, 50 cents.
Yeah.
Now you're all cool. You got
now you guys just get your retina scanned.
Exactly. Right? Yeah, and someone would just be tearing them out at will.
Yeah, and you just go out and you just think, like, I want a turkey sub, and it just comes up like a cylinder, and then it scans your retina.
Yeah. Speaking of waitering, come to think of it, were you not? Isn't it true, Paparazzi, Chestnut Hill Mall?
Yes, Paparazzi.
Yes.
Anyone been there?
She was a waiter.
Were you a waitress there? Oh.
Don't. Yeah.
After I graduated from college, I made my parents proud by waiting tables for 10 years. Pretty much. People always ask, how do you make it in the business? And I would say, well, you don't buy a house or make money for 10 years.
Right.
I mean, it's how you do it. I pretty much, I worked Paparazzi, and then I moved to Chicago, and I waited tables. You can wait tables anywhere. It's really great. And I did the same thing in New York when I first moved there. So, and back then, we were laughing, like back then, I think it cost $18,000 to go to school here. And I think it's less now, right?
Yeah.
And worth every penny. paparazzi, and I think I waited on the bassist from Aerosmith, so suck on that. Yeah. So, the blonde dude from Aerosmith.
So you've got that top of the resume.
I got that going on.
What, you've done so many different things. I mean, you've done live improv shows and film and television and live television and all. What excites you most now, although you might not want to answer that question? I mean, what do you get the most excited about? You're working on Saturday Night Live, going back and doing a live show. I know you're working on a film, or there was some discussion of a film.
Yeah.
What is it now that's your favorite, if you can even say that?
I don't know. I gotta say, I'm relatively still new to the idea of working in the realm of film, and I'm still trying to. I still feel like I'm still learning that process and trying not to. Trying to figure that out, and it's a completely different and really exciting, interesting process, but it's completely different. I still feel I'm still kind of a junkie for the live performance, and that's why, in many ways, SNL is like in the ultimate New York kind of like, I've always been a night owl. It's like it's like a vampire's dream. And just performing, like having an audience is still, to me, where I feel weirdly most comfortable. It's hard to be alone. No, I'm just kidding. It's really hard to just be alone with myself. No. But now that I've gotten older and wiser, I hope, I'm now a little bit more interested in what comes along with producing and directing those things, because you get really lucky when you improvise. You are your own editor and writer and actor on stage. Then you really do get to decide or control what's happening, and you find that you yearn for that control in other areas. So I tend to want to have a little bit more control. In film, you have probably the least amount of control. You do something, and then it's either cut or edited or different or better or whatever. But it's really a director and writer's medium. So I want to take over that stuff.
Yeah.
No, that makes any sense.
Are you pretty choosy with projects now?
No, I'll do anything.
Really?
You guys seen Deuce Bigelow?
Yes, absolutely.
You're not that choosy. No, I'll sign me up.
Yeah.
No, I think that I would like to think that I get to do fun things, and I'm always just thrilled to work with fun, talented people.
Who are the people that if you see these people that you'd like to work with there on a project?
Well, Will and I are working on a film with Will Ferrell right now, and he is.
You hear that gasp? There's an audible.
Oh, you guys! I wish he was here. Instead of me. Maybe we can pretend he went to BC. And he's an example of. I find mostly the most talented people are the best people. Like they're the people you would picture being the coolest people. Like not always. Like you'll have your kind of crazy, talented, genius weirdos. But Will is an example of, because he's so talented, he can also afford to be so great. Does that make any sense?
It
He's
does.
just really confident in, and he does those things that I think any good actor, not even just comedian, but actor does, which is he is a very giving, generous, wants you to look as good or better than him. He puts your creativity over his own, and by doing that, everybody wins. So he's a person that comes to mind of someone who really is as great as he is funny.
Have you ever worked with anyone who just at first intimidated you? I mean, you never ever have struck me as someone who has that sort of can be intimidated. I want to figure out your diet, by the way, just because you always have an incredible amount of energy. But have you ever come up with a person who you just were a little intimidated by, or a strange
Always.
story?
I mean, on the show, we have guests come in that are just they're like, Robert De Niro about the toilet bowl sketch? Yes.
Yes.
Hi, Mr. De Niro. We have this sketch where you are floating your toilet bowl. Whatever. And I tend to talk a lot, so people that are quiet make me really nervous. So quiet.
What about the guy with the thing all over his?
I'm really, really terrified.
Right. Yeah. Good. Oh yeah. No. Okay. That was a mistake. That was see what I did there? I didn't mean to do that again. Yeah. It's a bit of a problem there. All right. We're going to turn it over to questions in a little while they get his taser. But a couple of, I think there's, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I think there's this general idea that, have you found it more difficult as a woman to be an improv artist? Have you come up against anything? I mean, I think that's something that I've heard talked about, or it's harder to be a female comedian.
Mm-hmm. I think that you guys would maybe agree that I think that groundwork was laid. It was kind of those barriers were broken down before me. I would imagine that the early women on SNL or the early comedians had to kind of deal with stuff that I don't think I necessarily have to deal with. I always think that talent is a great equalizer, so I hope that people, if they like you, then you're funny or you're talented, hopefully then it kind of overrides gender. There's specific differences and things you have to kind of figure out, and I think that you have to kind of find a way to play the game and then also kind of create your own game. It's a little complicated. I've been very lucky in that even from Fleabag to Operation Citizens Brigade to SNL, I've always been surrounded by great guys who have always. I've never felt anything but just like genderless support. If that makes any sense. But I know everyone has their own very unique experience, and I know I know like there's certain things like, for example, don't let your boobs fall out when you're improvising.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, guys don't have to worry about.
See, there's a lot of good advice that's being given here today. But I hope
ladies in general.
I don't see notebooks, but right there's go with the funny jokes
nowadays.
Go with the funny jokes. Don't let your boobs fall out.
Yep.
See?
Go with the funny jokes.
A lot of advice to actors.
And dump fuel over the ocean. Dump fuel over the ocean.
Right. True or false? You are the funniest person on Saturday Night Live. You kind
false.
Of. Please.
You're nuts.
You carry them. I think you carry them a little bit.
Oh, thank you. That's
yeah. Are they actually? And I want to say that was not to stop you from saying all the mean things that you could say about them. Now we do have. Actually, I have one last question for you because they want to ask questions. But
yeah.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years? I mean, what you mentioned directing a little bit. Is that something you want to do?
I would like to direct and write more and produce more stuff. I hope I would. I think I would like to see my theater celebrating its 20th anniversary. I'd like to see Fleabag celebrating its 35th anniversary. I would like to see me doing. I don't know. I mean, if you had asked me 10 years ago that I would be sitting here, I'd be like, yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
You would be like, 10?
I would be like,
jeez.
No. No. So that's a hard question, and all I can say to you is, if you guys, your minds will be blown at what will happen in the next 10 years, because I could never have pictured that 10 years. I would be.
Oh my God. 10 years ago, I would think, or 20, when I was their age, I would be like, 36, that is so old,
like, forget it.
And now I'm 36, and
really
I realized
old.
I was right,
Yeah.
I'm like,
you really are on
old, exactly.
over.
Yes.